Good morning. Indeed, my pleasure to be here. Memories. When you go to college and then you go to grad school and then you teach on the faculty, just your life is just tied into this cycle that come the end of August, you start all over again, and those memories flash back here. Always a pleasure to be involved in something like this. Now, let me just log my flight plan so you can see where we're trying to go today. Look, at the end of the day, once you leave these holiday halls, you hope to get employed or some level. But things rough out the street. And are there things that you could be doing, should be doing, or rethinking completely as a result? And that's sort of what I am here to do, to help that element of the whole process. Now, this thing called prosperity is something we shouldn't be ashamed of. And I do believe that why Jamaica and much of the Caribbean continues to be so poor is that we have not yet unlocked the entrepreneurial and the productive capabilities of the majority of our people. It's a word that I don't quite sure if we understand what that word means. We call everything entrepreneur. So I hope to even just clarify some of that, just to make sure you understand where you are in the scheme of things. Now, many of you, as many of us, are still being socialized. Go to school, study hard, pass your exam, and beg somebody to work. That's the name of the game. But there's some limitations where that is concerned. Many Jamaicans from the majority class, which I'd imagine many of you are, who have started businesses. Only reason? Because somebody made them redundant. Somebody fired them. It was not their first choice. Many Jamaicans and Caribbean people are reluctant business people, reluctant to start their own endeavors. Even those of your own parents who are in business, many times do not socialize you for business, because they don't want you to come have to work hard like them. They want to make sure, say, you go to school, study hard, pass your exam, and go beg somebody a job. As far as I'm concerned, that's slavery. Now, the only difference is that this is quite different. Many parents, if it doesn't end in ER when you leave school, it's not valid. Teacher, lawyer, doctor, that come to. No? Now, folks, there is another Jamaica. There's another Jamaica, which some of you may know about it, some of you may not know about it. The ethnic minorities do not socialize their children in that manner. I repeat, they do not socialize their children in that manner. Now, the kind of admonition about going to school and study hard and go beg somebody at work, that's specific to us, the majority class. Rex Nettleford, long since connected with this institution, reminded us a long time ago that the economic portals, the economic structures of Jamaica were largely created by the bottom third of the class, ones who had D's and F's. They went out and they created the businesses that run Jamaica now and the Caribbean. But they were smart enough to hire the top third of the class to run the business for them. You check around how many of the movers and shakers in business around the Caribbean who were bright sparks. Very few of them. But they were smart enough to hire the top third to run it. Now, what has happened, that process has continued to a large extent. Because that was okay. You could build those kind of businesses and then send you the bright ones to run it. But well, the problem, folks. The game has changed. We are now in the new work order. It is not muscles and machine that run the world. It is intellectual capital. So the D's and the F, really, even with their best of intentions, they can't drive the kind of economy that we now need. Brain power is what's required. It is now necessary for the top third of the class to be the ones to leave school to go out and create business and provide the jobs for the bottom third of the class. If you all fail to do that, dog, nyam, our breakfast next morning. So serious game changers are necessary. One problem is that there's some dynamics which we really have to overcome if we are to get there. Now, I heard one of the gentlemen there said he wanted to hopefully hear something different. I hope what we're talking about here this morning is different enough. My expectation, what I'm about to talk to you about, I spoke to the previous principal about this very concept and said I would like a number of UWI students to be like me. Meaning that you can walk away from a campus and use what you have learned to create your own business. Not begging nobody no work. You learn something here and you use it to create the means of production. And we've mapped out a way we could look at it and say, if I could infect, let's call it that, infect 10% of students each year to do that, we could save the Caribbean. That's all, 10%, that's all we need. So that's my expectation, to see, can I infect 10% of you this morning? So when you leave here, you say, boy, you know, game change. One problem we face is that, to a large extent, if you want to hide something from black people, you know where you put it? In a book. Even among yourself. One of my most painful experiences when I used to teach here, everything, it going beyond the exam, sir? Do we have to read the whole book, sir? Guess what me read? No, guess what me hear? All of what we're talking about now and seeing, folks, was in a book. 1970, Future Shock, the coming post-industrial era. Anyone here read that? Okay. 1980, same author, The Third Wave. First wave, agriculture, manual. Second wave, industrialization. Third wave, brain power. Anybody read that? Next book, The Work of Nation, Robert Reich. Anybody read that? Interesting concept here. An academic wrote a book remixing the concept articulated by Adam Smith about the wealth of nations. Saying, no, it's the work of nation that creates wealth. But the game has changed. On the strength of that book, Bill Clinton hired Robert Reich to run the American economy, making him Secretary of Labor. Run it for me, since you articulate it so well. Anybody read that one? All right, one more on the test. 1995, The End of Work by Jeremy Rifkin. Anybody? No, guess what? This is 20 years later, you know. 20 years ago, somebody said work done as we know it. And you all haven't gotten the memo. So why are you here? Rifkin's premise was that once China becomes part of the World Trade Organization, they will extract all labor costs out of everything we used to call work, making most of our jobs null and void. Has that happened? Where are all appliances made? And guess what? Mr. Chin, he will work for $1 a day and a bowl of rice. No, none of us do that. So you understand what we're up against. They are comfortable doing that. And they are now the manufacturing center of the world. When I hear people say we need some more factories in Jamaica, I say, yeah, right. To make what? At what price? To sell to who? So folks, we have work to do. Some serious work to do. Now here's the bad news. What got you here won't get you there unless you find a new gear. Literally double clutch. Because the model, as you have been socialized into it, no longer works. It hasn't worked for the last 10 years, but I'm not sure anyone brought to your attention. So can you imagine you working so hard to complete a degree and to get it all done, only to realize that work done as we knew it? But there's some good news. I love this quote here from Theodore Roosevelt. It says that we have all that we need to create what we want, because all the resources we need are in our minds. Every single thing in this room began as an idea in somebody's mind. The lights, the chairs, the projector, the computer. So if we are poor, it's a reflection of what is or is not in our minds. We must hug up that. What's in our minds? What's in our mind? We have to dare to dream, but this kind of dream I'm talking about, not the kind of dream you do in your sleep and then go back to sleep. It's the kind of dream you dream with your eyes wide open and then make it reality. Miracles start to happen when you give as much energy to your dreams as you do to your fears. And when you dream, folks, we want some mega-sized dreams. Because if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. You see, when you dream, it will start shake. You're supposed to start sweat. If it's not happening, the dream isn't big enough. So go to sleep, wake up, start over again, and dream it even bigger. Now, I have identified 6 pathways to prosperity in Jamaica. 6. Now, we're going to elaborate on just one of them, because one of them concerns you. That one is called the best and the brightest. And I know that. Huh? By the way, do you understand that in Jamaica, there are roughly 50,000 students in an age cohort? You know that, right? So by the time you get to 5th form, of that 50,000, we see all these great stats when CSEC results come out today. Yeah, man. And we're going to talk about all those people who got, I'm sure some of you here with the 8 1s and 9 1s and, huh? But guess what? You are an anomaly. Of the 50,000 on the average year, only 6,000 get 5 subjects or more. Only 6,000 get 5 subjects. 30% pass no subject. Another 30% pass 1 subject. Another 14% pass 2 subjects. How much that add up to? You understand? Houston, we have a problem. So if only not the best and the brightest, I don't know who then is. Because just to get in here, what's the minimum requirement to get in here? So that's only the 5. And 5 alone can't get you in here. Thank you. So we have identified 6 pathways to prosperity. And I think let us talk about them. Now, if you have no interest in prosperity, then you can just turn off your ears now and, right? But otherwise, let's move forward. Now, we're going to talk about them. The work goes through a number of levels, folks. At the highest level, we have somebody called the entrepreneur. Because if they did not do things, we would not have things. Understand that? I'm just concerned about how many of us as a people, we content ourselves, we pride ourselves in what we can consume. Guess what we have? Guess what we buy? Not what we can create. At the very bottom of the pyramid, you have people who are dependent. Yes, you are dependent on your parents because that's the earth set up. But then, if somebody has to feed you, it gets sticky. Anybody who feeds you owns you. Understand what I mean by that? So that if them tell you come, your only question is how often. You can't say you're not going nowhere. Any adult, any person who is not feeding themselves, and I mean so in the broadest sense of the word, you're either a child, a pet, or a domesticated animal. Pick one. If you are not feeding yourself, so if as a nation we're not feeding ourselves, what are we? We eat quite lightly. We're smarty pet. Come here, come. Right? So we have a problem. Yes, As employees, you can eat a food, but the ultimate, at the top of the pyramid, is the entrepreneur. The person who can take an idea and wring reality out of it and make something happen and sustain it. Are you there? The problem we have, some hybrids in Jamaica. Some people, when they talk about business, they really roast them on. You want to roast these people? I'm sure your parents can tell you about roasting. You stay on somebody's job, take them salary, but you run your things from the side. Huh? Not ethically right. There's also this thing called hustling. What's hustling? Alright? Match at stadium. You're selling t-shirts. That's hustling. That's not business. That's not sustainable. You can't upgrade that into something real and sustainable. So a lot of times, and I saw an article on Facebook just this week about that Jamaica is ranked number 7 in the world in terms of entrepreneur. No, we can't confuse necessity entrepreneur with real business. It's hustling that. Somebody work, so try a thing. That's not sustainable. You are the best and the brightest. You should know better. How about owning a job? If you are doing something that, look, you are the only person involved in it. When you sleeping, the job sleeping. When you're not feeling well, the job not feeling well. When you don't go work, the job don't go work either. That can't sustain us. So we have some serious rethinking, folks. Alright? So where are we going to go with this? There's a serious confusion that is taking place in people's mind. This dichotomy between a small business operator and an entrepreneur. We did a study this year at a conference at UWI, Dr. Palmer and myself, where we took the time to really make sure people understand the difference between a small business operator and an entrepreneur. And we really hope that you can get a clarity of this. And I show you my email address at the top. You just drop me a line and I'll send you a link to the presentation so you can go it in more detail. What makes entrepreneur define? These are the elements that define you as an entrepreneur. All of these things working together. But the one that really stands out in my mind is the entrepreneurs works on the business. You work on the business, so you can step aside from it and you're looking at it and you're tweaking it and it can run independent of you. Many times you have an exit clause as to when you're going to sell it, what you're going to do with it, and basically you want to make some money. You want not just to make a living, but you want to make a fortune. You know the best you can do for poor people? Don't be one of them. That's the best you can do for the poor. Don't be one of them. Because me poor and you poor, we can't help each other. So alright, I volunteer. I'll be the one that's not poor then, alright? So if you don't want volunteer for that, I volunteer for that. But this is what entrepreneurs do. Are you interested in doing this? Because remember, if you're not doing this, you're going to have to put out your hand to beg somebody a work, or beg somebody money, or beg somebody some phone credit. Is that the money you go to school for? Well, we also have something else, somebody called small business operators. What defines them? They work largely in the business. Think of some of your parents who own businesses now. And in your mind, you should be able, you're bright people. Are they small business operators or are they entrepreneurs? They can be doctors and lawyers and architects and engineers, but are they entrepreneurs or just a small business operator? And by the way, we're not using small business operator as a pejorative term. Earlier this year, I facilitated a conference, Development Bank of Jamaica, and in one of the presentation, the Jamaica rep from the World Bank and from the IMF reminded the gathering that 95% of Jamaican businesses are indeed SMEs, small and medium-sized business. We have very, very few large businesses in Jamaica in terms of what the gross is, in terms of the number of people employed, in terms of the turnover. So let's be very careful. A lot of what we're doing is really just making ends meet. And we got to go beyond that. Because if we don't do that, folks, it means that development only comes from something called savings and surplus. If we aren't generating revenues beyond which we need for our daily requirements, there's no money left for development. So if we don't have that, we have to beg somebody else for money for our development. And anybody who feeds you, what? Owns you. If you're not feeding yourself, you're either a child, a pet, or a domesticated animal. All right, at least you learn that. So, small business. Now, there's some reasons why we have so much problems in Jamaica where business is concerned. And you can hear all the reasons. All the people from economics and all the people from business and management studies will give you the other reasons why business fail. I'm going to give you the 7 other reasons that they don't talk about. Number 1, do you understand, do you know, those of you from history, that there were laws in Jamaica that forbid black people from owning business? There were laws, if somebody see on the side of the road selling some mango, who mango you? If it don't say it's Mr. Johnson mango you're selling, you're going to jail. Because you're not supposed to be out there with that. It's thief for thief it. That is still in many of our DNA. If you understand us in Jamaica, every time when a man decides, boy, you know, I'm going to leave a little work and start a little business, you know. And the wife will say to him, but you look at job and ministry kind of secure, you know, you don't want to take on them kind of chance. It's kind of dangerous, you know. It goes back to that deep structure. You hear those conversations in your houses. The second reason why business fail, the most important degree you'll ever have is your DT degree. You know what DT stands for? Dining table. What were the... don't forget that nothing on a dining table. That's part of the problem now. You get your food and you go slum this and you go around this and you go around this. What were the conversations you heard at your dining table? Look, a young man over there. Kobe? Chad. Chad, who's your brother? Who's your brother? What's your connection with Asani?
Friends.
Okay. Campion?
Yeah.
Okay. So you know the whole history of Asani. My son, one party was putting on, and I was dropping one of his friends home after the party. And the friend asked, but how come you allow Asani to do those kind of things? To put on these massive parties? I found it strange. I said, but that's what we do. His parents, we see an opportunity, we see an idea, and we create a solution. So, the conversation my children hear at the dining table is that you see an opportunity, you create a solution, and you make it happen. So that's what he did, because the kind of conversation he heard at the dining table, he has never heard a conversation, boy, let's see if we can find out work tomorrow, you know. Let's see if we can. No. He heard conversations about, that can make some money, you know. I think we can solve that problem, you know. I think we should call so and so and offer them a solution. What was your DT? What were your conversations? Next. There's a wonderful quote from Henry Ford. If I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Many of people don't understand what people are willing to pay for. Look what Jamaicans will pay for entertainment, but won't pay for education. Look what they'll pay for phone credit, but won't pay to buy a book for their children to go to school. So we have to understand what motivates people in terms of what they'll pay for. Another problem where business fail, many of, I was going to say us, but I say uno, don't really understand how money works. Have no idea how money works. But Henry Ford says, it is well that the people of the nation do not understand our banking and monetary system. For if they did, there'd be a revolution before morning. If you understood how money works, you'd be frightened. Why a bank, what a bank manager can do, what banks can do with your money. you'll be frightened. Rule number 5 as to why many of us forgot how human capital and social capital work together without finance to build rural Jamaica. You go and plant out some potato, you call your neighbors, you give them some food for the day. They help you plant out. Tomorrow, we help Mr. Brown do the same thing. Now, Mr. Johnson said, boy, I mean that, you know. When you want to plant on them things, what have to do? You have to pay people. But the rest of us who traded our social capital and our human capital, we created surplus and then we sell to the outsiders. That's how we built. My mother mastered that for order. My mother would ask me, listen, can you send me you have the banana? I said, yeah, but you have a dozen. She said, no, just bring the whole bunch. But Mama, you can't eat a bunch of banana because cut up and bring it, give me. What should do with the banana? She go around the apartment complex and give away. Keep those half dozen for herself. And guess what? For the rest of that month, she eat off of it. Because everybody who she give, when they go market the supermarket, they bring back something for her. It's in giving that you receive. The 6th reason why business fail, because we ignore what Adam Smith said about capital. Adam Smith talked about 4 types of capital. None were finance. Finance is a recent phenomenon. The world has a financial crisis. Finance is how you measure value, moving from one form of capital to the other. Natural capital, social capital, human capital, manufactured capital are the 4 forms of real capital. Finance is the 5th, which is used to translate value across them. We have no problems in the first 4. You are the best and the brightest. We just celebrated Emancipation Day. Did you notice that 2 phenomena have really the same time frame? You learned about one in history class, you learned about the other one in social studies or economics. Have you figured out why they are the same time frame? Why is it that the abolition of slavery is the same time frame as Industrial Revolution? Why is that? The abolition didn't just take place overnight. Months, years of agitation. It's enough plantation were burned down. Enough slave masters were poisoned. And while they were watching and waiting, they were working. Because they realized, why them people were free one time, you know. What we do? What we do when the man them free? And they remolded their economic modes of production. So by the time they were able to quote unquote give us freedom, they could now hire us back to work on their plantation because they had machines now to do the hard work. The Slave Trade Act, the 25th of March 1807, that's when it was passed. But it took all that time now to get to 1834. They were not sleeping. They were not sleeping. So we understand, folks. Do the homework. You know one of these gentlemen, Edward Philip George Siaga, but you don't know the second. That's Adam Smith, we talked about before. Mr. Siaga's famous statement says it takes cash to care. Adam Smith says, no, Mr. Siaga, you are wrong. Labor was the first price, the original purchase money paid for all things. It was not by gold or by silver, but by labor that all the wealth of the world was originally purchased. And you there now think if you don't have the money, you can't do nothing. But you are the best and the brightest. You have the highest value human capital of this generation. Don't let them fool you. The 7th reason, the lack of standard operations. SOPs. When you get a franchise, folks, if you understand what happens, they tell you exactly how to do everything. 95% of franchises are successful. But 80% of new business fail within the first couple of years because there are no SOPs. Everything has to be figured out from scratch. So if we know all of these 7 reasons why business fail, guess what? We're bright. we can create countermeasures so we leave here being able to create successful business. Charles Darwin says it's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. If generation after generation we keep doing the same thing, but expect different results, that translates to madness. So the generation before, well before, when the bottom third of the class created the business, so the top third could get the jobs to run the business. That model is done. So our economy has stagnated because the best and the brightest are leaving school playing by the old rules. It's as if now we all learned about test cricket. But now it's a 2020 match. But no matter what tell you says 2020 rules. So you go in there and take 10 overs to get in your eye. But the match half done. From you get in there 20, you have to start flash the bat as you get in there. So rules have changed. Part of what I do, folks, I read the future. I study the future. And every now and then you kind of come back and you step and you share some ideas to make sure that those who weren't down there can put themselves in place to get things done right. What we're seeing now in the future, everything that can be routinized and codified and dissected, we're done by machines. But the things that we have a special knack of, that social and emotional intelligence component, they can't go around us with that. So there are some things that we can do that the machines can't do. The machines can do a hell of a lot. I mean, I am privileged. Well, I've chose to have a Samsung S6 Curve. Folks, anything I want to do, I just ask the phone. No matter how complex the idea, I'm not typing nothing, I just ask. And as I'm done, the phone tell me the answer. I mean, you come with the most complex, 1587.47 multiplied by 57.96. Boom, answer. What is that? It queries the entire Google database and gives you the answer immediately. So now, I don't need nobody to look up this for me now. I heard a phenomenon, a friend of mine who's an attorney, all one is old law firms. And every time they're having a case discussion, and they have the young lawyers and the old lawyers, and they want to look and see what the precedents are. All right? By the time one of them run over to the law library next door to take out the law books to look up, one of the young lawyers just on them smartphone, look up the case long time and get it. Where you got that from? It's right here, sir. They haven't adjusted that Gen X. That Gen Y young lawyer now has at their disposal all the information in the known universe. While they're still going to go next door to find the book, take it off the shelf, dust it off, to find the page to look it up. You are that special group. Problem. The global problem we have is this thing called unemployment. Powered by technology, fueled by information and knowledge, we are shifted into a knowledge economy. There's a serious mismatch between what you are leaving the university with and what the world is now demanding. Serious mismatch. So unless you, the leaders, help to correct that, global unemployment for the youth, 2013, 12.6, 2018 projection, 12.8. That seems fairly stable to me. Give thanks you don't live in Spain or Greece or South Africa, where it's 50%. So we have serious work to do, just to save yourself. We're seeing some interesting trends in the United States over the past 20 years. Many of the young people are no longer looking at employment as the main way forward. Some young people looking at sports, clubs, summer school, seeing some things that are going to pay better dividend than spending more and more and more time in school, where you can actually learn the kind of skills that you can put to work immediately. Do you understand that by 2030, 50% of the jobs, that's the 2 billion jobs that now exist, will no longer be here? half of the jobs that are on earth will disappear. So the jobs that you are preparing for, they are on their way out. So, is that doom and gloom? No. What it means is that those jobs are going to be replaced by totally different jobs. The question is, what are they? What do we call them? What will they look like? Are you ready for that? Do you understand that you're going to be learning brand new skills every 5 years? Brand new skills every 5 years. Do you understand that you're going to be changing careers 5 or 6 times in your life? Not just changing jobs. So what are you thinking about now? That's just the first career. 5 or 6 times in your life. Now this takes us now to the pathways to prosperity. My prediction is that we have 5 plus 1. 6 clearly defined pathways. And I think if you look carefully, you will be able to find some others. Now, pathway number 1, the best and the brightest, is that. The best and the brightest. Remember that it is knowledge-driven economies that now run the world. It is intellectual capital that now create the most value added. What are we talking about? Youth unemployment is rising. Jobs have become scarce for those leaving school. So guess what? You have to save yourself. Just out of just enlightened self-interest. You have to create jobs if you want one. I've said this about 10 years ago on this campus that if you're bright, you create one job for yourself. If you're very bright, you create 2. One for yourself and one for somebody else. The students I said this to almost chased me off the campus. Oh, no. We are UWI graduates. We're entitled to employment. Plus a corner office and a car. You're right. You are the best and the brightest. What do you bring to the table? You are the most tech-savvy generation on this planet. Technology is in your DNA. The internet is your life. You'll be a transient. You'll follow the work where the work goes. You will be something we call nomads. But we spell the nomads kind of different now. K-N-O-W. So anywhere the work is, you know how to find it. And you'll go there. Geography, time and space are no longer factors of life. Some of you are sitting right here now, but on your phone talking to somebody thousands of miles away. That's how great you are. There was a study in the Gleaner last year that pointed out that the group of Jamaicans most likely to migrate were the ones that got the most education from the country. So you're going to take that education and build somebody else's country. No, we understand why you do it. We understand why. But guess what? What about the rest of us who choose to build Jamaica? Who choose to build the Caribbean to make it what we want it to be? What do you bring to the table? You're very special. Very special. Because you are able to do things that many people before. The virtual world is the real world. Gil Scott Heron told us that the revolution will not be televised. But guess what? We don't need it to be televised now because we have internet. So that it will be covered by every way possible. You have the tools. You are more self-directed. You can process information at lightning speed. You are smarter than any other generation ever. But how wise? We're not so sure yet. Time will tell. You will give new meaning to the word social workers because social, multiplayer games, multiplayer platforms that you can interact on, your connectedness through computers and cell phones, instant messaging, you name it. What do you bring to the table? Your generation are the first generation to build relations virtually before they become real. Virtually before they become real. It's important that you get disruptive. If you don't get disruptive, we are all in trouble. A disruptive hypothesis is an intentionally unreasonable statement that gets your thinking in an opposite direction. You are the one supposed to be asking now, what if? What if? Why can't education be free? And guess what? Education is now free. Certification we still pay for, but anything you wish to learn, you can learn it for free. Do you understand that my prediction, within 15 years, half of the universities in the world, probably including this one, will close down? Because all education will be accessible on... I have seen some models being worked out. Incredible models. There's one professor who literally from Stanford who decided to do his favorite class online and open it up in artificial intelligence. All right, 250,000 registered for the class. So in that one term, he taught more people than he would have taught for his entire career. The online people got more A's than the one that was sitting in front of him. The next year, he quit his job and opened up an online university for just engineering subjects. And in the model that they developed, they created an employment agency link with the top business. And based on your grades as you go through the courses, they could match your progress, and they would now link the top performing students with specific jobs in companies who pay them a finder's fee. That money ran the entire system. So everybody taking the courses did so for free. The top performing students, what they earned for the system, paid for everybody's education. That's the future of education. Tertiary education funding is unsustainable. The United States has discovered that. Right? We soon, it take a little while for the memo to get down here. But we have seen the way to do it. It can be done. What if you have to disrupt it? You want to make some unreasonable statement. What if a cell phone didn't need a battery at all? What if education could be totally free as of next week? Why not? You need to get those kind of dreams now and make them big to step out there and make these things possible. If you lack foresight, largely you're going to find yourself unemployed. When technology changes, you are the ones that are going to get dumped first. You have to start to see around the corner, see through the walls, see what's going to happen next and plan for it. It's imperative that this disruptive status quo be shifted. Because you need to become the leaders of this region, not just the observers of global issues. If you don't take on this challenge, we're in trouble. Let me push it one step further. I take a spiritual approach to life. And the seventh spiritual law is about the law of Dharma. Implied in Dharma is that each one of us is here for a unique purpose. The same way you have unique fingerprints and unique DNA. You are here for a purpose. Now, if you can connect your purpose with your life, great things happen to you as a result of that. Don't just look at what your vocational training is. Some of you at this point can sense why you're here. At some point, once you sense it and you actualize it, you're in a whole other space. You get paid twice. The first pay you get is the pleasure from what you're doing. The second pay, dollars run. Nothing beat the two pay.
I want to rule my destiny. Yeah, I want to rule my destiny. Whoa.
I figured out my Dharma. When I was on this campus teaching, I said, but at what point will I impact on the kind of transitions I want? I came here from Cornell where I met a man, Ayikwe Arma, a Ghanaian writer, and he had just published a book called The Healers. And The Healers, it said that healing one person, anybody can do that. The real work of a healer is to heal a nation. So if I teach in a lecture hall like this, How many people can I impact? You know what I did, folks? I said, no, I need a more effective method. I built a sound system. Because when you chat over a sound system in a dance, you can impact on a lot more people. I remember one day I did, in the morning, I did a seminar for some managers at Bank of Jamaica. I had on a suit. In the afternoon, I taught a graduate seminar on campus. I took off the jacket. In the evening, I ran my dance at Skateland. I take off the shirt. So you just walk through the world and, but I'm still a teacher. And then I one step further, but hold on. What if I was teaching via a radio station? So I went to RGR and created a program, and they liked the idea. So we created a show called The Night Doctor, where we used a radio program to revalue Jamaican currency in 1992. We used a radio program to create a feature called Home by 30, where I was able to teach Jamaicans that if you leave school at 17, by 30 you must own a house. Here are the principles. Up to last week, a man stopped me and said, Doc, me give thanks, boss, but own my house. So that I'm a teacher. So teaching don't means, the thing I love least about teaching is marking papers. In my world of teaching, I don't have to mark the papers. But my students come back to me every day and telling me what happened and telling me. So that, do you know your Dharma? Now, once you know your Dharma, you work with it. And don't let people get you off track. Look at this interesting thing that happened here now. Then Peter said, silver and gold have I none, but such as I have, I give thee. In the name of Jesus, rise up and walk. His Dharma was to heal people, make them walk. People are come begging money. No, it's not my calling that. So don't beg me nothing. My Dharma is not to give you money. My Dharma is to free you intellectually. Alright? Understand me now? Good. So know what your Dharma is. Now, here, how does that map into the world of work? What's your passion? What's your Dharma? The mistake a lot of people have, they tell you that once you live your passion, you go on clear. Not true. Once you identify your Dharma, your next step, you are responsible to identify what problem can you solve with your Dharma. What desire can you fulfill with your Dharma? Huh? So I want to be a biologist. What's that? I don't know. So what are you going to do with that? Well, I have my degree in biology. But what are you going to do with it? Well, I just love biology. No, but that's not going to help us. It may help you. You know biology is because you look it up in the diary, in the dictionary. Your next step. Who is willing to pay? It is your job to figure out what problem you can solve with your passion and also who will pay you. If you can't solve that, non-starter. You are bright. You are bright. What can you deliver? What service? What products? This is the formula, folks. Passion, desire, problem solving, pay. That's how we link it. Then you go out and find customers. Whether you find one customer or thousands of customers, you go on clear. So, that's where we are. That's where we are. You deliver it, you make it happen. You are the best and the brightest. You are in the best position to transform this country, this region. Let me just tell you briefly what the other pathways are. The second pathway is a tried and proven. People over 60, talented, knowledgeable. I believe that if we empower those people who are now retired to create business with all the things in their head, I would give everybody on the verge of retirement at least $500,000 for them as seed capital. For them now to hire some young people to pass on their knowledge to and to make business work. You know why I would do that? Because at 60, you should be coming from prison, not going to prison. They're not going to thief the money. They're going to make it happen. The fastest growing segment of our population are people 60 and over. So that if we don't empower them to extract that knowledge from them and turn it into business, we are in trouble. The third pathway is the fittest and the fastest. No, we're joking. Year after year, we go out and we prove to the world that we are above and beyond the majority of all the countries of the world in terms of per capita. What if at the end, look, let's say we missed all of these, huh? Let's say Beijing now. After we perform again, on the last day, we announce a crowdfunding platform seeking $500 million to establish the Jamaican International Institute of Sprinting Excellence. Do you think we could raise that money? I know we could. Which other country could say they set up the Institute of Sprinting Excellence and nobody take them serious? American football is built on the 40-yard dash. So why aren't all American football players, not soccer, football, in Jamaica in the off-season, brushing up their sprinting ability to fill all the hotels and eat our food and so on and things? Because we have people who make decisions who are jokers. Pathway to prosperity. The fourth pathway is the desperate and the dangerous. You know who those are? You can tell them by the way they dress going to school. You had your cohorts in schools where you pass your 8 and 9 subjects and they're the ones that pass none and less. Remember them? If we don't find a way now to convert them into productive capacity, we are in trouble. I saw a wonderful video, a TED video, where this man worked with a program to take some young men who was in Somalia who were training to become suicide bombers. And guess what? He converted them to businessmen by explaining one thing for them. Listen, as a suicide bomber, you know, when you die, you get 72 virgins. But as a businessman, you get live women, as many as you want. But that kind of thing, you know, worked out. So they made a difference.
In the same time, we hungry and there's another suicide. Police are parents and them a fight crime. All the day you come up in the city first time. Tell them same time. The government policies are the mind.
This is The Economist magazine, September 28, 1996. Again, 20 years ago, The Economist predicted what the biggest problem in the world would be. Huh? Look around us here now. This campus. What's the percent of young men on this campus? We have left the men behind further and further and further and further. But anytime them hungry again, you're going to see the 9. We have a choice. Either we invest more in education and occupational training, or we invest more in police and prison. Pick one. Pick one. So if we don't convert those brilliant young men, many of them are as bright as you are, but just not in the academic way. If we don't find a way to harness that energy, we are in trouble. Do you understand, folks, that each point we take off our murder rate, it translates directly to our GDP growth? And you want to take on that challenge as your solution? Pathway number 5. Ganjanomics.
Legalize it. Don't criticize it.
Now, one of my things about the Ganjanomics, you know, folks, is that I believe that the government has no moral authority to take even 1 penny in taxes from ganja. Because if we had listened to them, we'd have burned down every ganja plantation years ago. But we never listened to them. We never listened to them. So that there is a lot. And by the way, remember I talk about small business versus entrepreneur? Much of ganja planting and thing now is small business. It's not going to work. It's the businessman that goes into Ganjanomics. That's where we make the bag of money. Are you that person? Are you that person? Pathway number 6. Rebranding Jamaica about health and wellness. Do you understand that our capability, if you link healthcare with education, agriculture, we can transform the world? Jamaica was defined as a blue zone, you know. meaning that in terms of persons with the life expectancy, for the last 40 years, a black child in America has a lower life expectancy than a child born in Jamaica. It's getting worse though. It's getting worse. A Jamaican at age 60 is predicted to have 25 more years. There's something right about our environment. Anybody want to take that on as your contribution? So we can make it happen. Healthcare is now the leading edge of global development. Up from ICT. People are living longer and need a lot more help in terms of sustaining that. So that, look folks, you want to make some money, there are ways to make some money. But first you save yourself. You are the best and the brightest. You take the first pathway. You take the first step. My target, if we can talk to fourth formers and fifth formers and sixth formers and tertiary students, see if we can break out of this bad habit of go to school, study hard, pass your exam, and then go beg somebody a work. Them days done, people. Them days done. Every morning in Africa, a gazelle wakes up. It knows it must outrun the fastest lion, or it will starve. Every morning in Africa, a lion wakes up. It must run faster than the slowest gazelle, or it's in trouble. So it don't matter whether you're a lion or you're a gazelle. You see, once you wake, you better start run. Nyam is a go on. Either you going nyam or you're going to be nyammed. You have a choice. The paradigm has shifted. Are you ready to make the change? Are you ready to take your position? You are the brightest and the best. If you don't make it happen, we are in trouble as a people. Thank you very much.